Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Cary'd by the Breeze, a podcast dedicated to the voices of the future, where you'll get to be part of the most honest conversations about self-development, spirituality, and holistic health. We're here to provide the space for visionaries and entrepreneurs with a burning desire to make a positive impact on the world. I'm your host, Cary'd Breeze, and today I have Stace Zimmerman, the digital nomad, as our guest once again. As some of you might remember, Stace is not your typical traveler. He's also a fearless explorer who has been navigating the globe for years. His unique focus lies in exploring third world countries, delving deep into their rich cultures and customs, and uncovering their hidden beauty. In a world that often prioritizes convenience and consumerism, Stace is here to challenge the status quo, as he's a proof that it is entirely possible to lead a life that's not just frugal, but fulfilling, all while being completely financially free. This is an episode you'll want to tune into, so let's begin. All right, so welcome everybody to a new episode of Cary'd by the Breeze, a podcast that gives voice to the people of the future, all the visionaries, all the dreamers, the shakers, and the movers. I have Stace Zimmerman again with me here today, my gorgeous, wonderful friend, a worldly nomad, and a wondrous adventurer. So today we're here to talk about a very big subject, Stace. So we defined it as how to live way below your means and still be comfortable and happy. What is that myth? Help me out here.
Well, because in Western culture and society, we're brought up to believe more is better, right? Like you got to have like the newest, the latest, the greatest, more stuff. And your self-worth and your identity is by how much stuff you accumulate, you know, a bigger, newer car, a bigger, newer house, you know, stuff like that. Like the newest this, the newest that.
Yeah.
That's consumerism. It's the whole thing, you know what I mean? Marketed as like, this will make you happy. If you just get this, or if you upgrade your house, then you'll finally be happy. If you get that new car, then you'll finally be like at peace.
Get
And this
that
is all
2.0,
a lie.
the 3.0.
Yeah, and it's
Upgrade,
you're chasing
upgrade.
something that's never going to be attainable, because there's always newest, there's always the latest, and then you're never ever happy because you keep accumulating this stuff. And most people can't afford it, so they live beyond their means, and then they don't, you know what I mean? Then they're stressed out because they go in debt, and next thing you know, and then yeah, they give up their options and their freedom, and then they get stuck in a trap, right? Because they have to pay for all this eventually, or you
Yeah.
have to declare bankruptcy or do credit restructuring or something, and then next thing you know, you're limited, right? You've damaged your credit history, so now the loans are more expensive, your credit cards are
Oh, for
denied, you know, things
sure.
like that. So it's like a vicious cycle, right? And people are
It's the
stuck in
sad
this thing.
reality of nowadays society where most of us are stuck in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, you know, kind of slaving away till pension. So we have those last 10 years where we're still, you know, in that state of mind to travel a little, to take a breath.
And I know all about it. Like I did it myself in my 20s and stuff too. I got in the whole debt. At one point, it was $50,000. I declared bankruptcy. I lost my house. I got my house foreclosed. I had my car repossessed. I declared bankruptcy. So I've gone through all of that, all young. So I know what it's all about. Like living way beyond your means and chasing that stuff, thinking that'll make you happy. And it's like that was the most miserable time of my life. Now it's like I'm completely the opposite. And it's just, oh, it's so great. It's just so, no stress, no bills in the mail. Like it's just like every day I can do whatever I want. Like I said
Nothing
earlier, I
that
didn't sleep
practically weighs you down. You're a free
No,
man.
I can get up and go whatever I want. If I just decided for whatever reason, okay, I want to go. Like I'm in Vietnam right now. Last time we talked, I was in North Thailand. I'm now in the island in Vietnam. You know, if there's some reason or whatever, I met somebody or there was some cool thing, I could be like, oh, I'm just going to go to like Turkey, or I'm just going to go to Greece. I could just like pick up and go next week and just go and like do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want. Like today, I didn't sleep good last night because it was thundering rainstorm and stuff. And when after this call later today, I might have a nap all afternoon in my air conditioned room in the middle of the day, and I don't care. And nobody's
I'm
going to give me
envious.
slack for it. You know, I might go eat and then go have a nap. So
So
I can, like, you know, it's just
you're
things like that, doing what you want, when you want, however you want, without answering to anybody, without feeling guilty about it, and without stressing about it. Going, oh, I have to do this because my boss, I'll get fired, or I have to pay this bill. Like it's just, yeah,
That is amazing. I know that a lot of folk who are listening now, they're very envious of your lifestyle. I am. Um, so let's talk about the possibility of, how to stop living paycheck by paycheck. You're somebody who already made it. You're traveling
Hmm.
the world. You're your own boss. You're financially free. Tell us a little bit more about it, like how it could be achieved, like where to
Okay, well,
begin.
the first thing people got to do, of course, everyone wants to make more money. You have to create more income. Yes, that's part of it. But the easiest, fastest thing people can do to create more income with what's in their control without learning new skills and without a bunch of time is drastically reducing their costs, like their monthly expenses
Mm,
and what they need to survive, what they think they want and what they need, and differentiating those things and prioritize. Because say you have X amount of income every month, and right now you're bringing in $3,000 a month, and you're spending right up to 3,000 every month. That's what living paycheck to paycheck is. You never have
yes.
anything like you have a lot of months left at the end of their paycheck. So the easiest way you can do is to just find ways where you can trim and where you can save. Maybe if like you don't go to Starbucks like 5 days a week, you only go one day a week now or 2 days a week. And okay, that saves you like $20 a week. That's $80 a month there. Okay. Oh, then you have like an Apple TV subscription and a Netflix subscription and maybe something else. You're like, I'm only going to get one of those subscriptions. I'm going to cut back two. There's another $10. So the easiest way in the beginning to have more money, because what you want to do in the beginning, you need to have a cushion, basically, like an emergency fund. Basically, I call it
Yeah.
a freedom fund. You got to have money, because if you are living, like you say, dollar to dollar every week to week, you're trapped. Like you're like literally just keeping your head above the water. You need to have that cushion, that buffer zone where it's like, when I started out, mine was like, okay, I have to build it up to $5,000. Once I have $5,000, I'm never letting it go below that. So like I would always build it above. And if it went to 5,000, it's like I'm broke. I'm absolutely broke if I only have $5,000 right now, like saved. And then I
So
kept building it up and building it up.
that was your foundation.
Yes, I had a goal of
Mhm.
like, yeah, $5,000. That's like my base emergency fund. And now it's way, way, way bigger than that. And then it was 10, then it was 15, now it's 20, then it's 30, then it's 40. Now it's just like, oh my God, I can't even think. If my money does not, if my money is
You're like,
not
I'm just
growing as
waiting
I'm living,
to. You're like,
no,
I'm just
because I'm
waiting
living.
to fall on my cushion.
No, because now it's like my thing only grows. I'm only going to let it grow until I'm like, for another 20 years at least, because that's going to be the money that I live off for the last 20 years. I'm not
Oh, you're
counting on
gonna
the
have an
government.
awesome pension.
No, I'm not counting on the government. I'm not putting my future in the hands of a government. I'm not relying on them. Hey, if I get that old and there's something for me, that'll just be cherry gravy on top, extra spending money, but I'm not going to be like, oh, be dependent on that, because you know what I mean? You're going to
Oh
probably
yeah,
get
I
let
feel like
down.
it's the smartest move to do right now. Who knows what's gonna happen with the term government at all?
Well, yeah, and
So
the
who
way
even knows
inflation
if
is
our
going too,
future
the
is.
cost of living and everything's going up. So it's like right now, even if you're saving and by the time you get a retirement, and even if they give you like $1,000 a month, say like when I'm like 65, 20 years from now, like $1,000 a month right now is nothing. And that's what people are getting. Imagine if like it goes up a little bit, like $1,300 in 20 years, but by then the cost of living is tripled. It's like, you know what I mean? We're losing the battle. The amount of inflation and the cost of living is like gap is getting bigger and bigger. So there's no
Oh,
way
for
you
sure.
have to do it on your own. And you know what? It's your own responsibility. I don't believe that people should be like, oh, I take government take care of me. Everyone should be taking care of themselves. So if you're taking care, you know what I mean? I'm just a
Oh
more independent
yes.
type person. I don't want to rely on anybody else for my future, because you know what I've learned in life. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And then you know what I mean. Otherwise, you're just going to be let down and
Oh
disappointed.
yeah,
So
I think it's the most the wisest approach to have at this point in our reality, unfortunately. But also, I just I'm thinking about the necessity to reduce everything that's weighing you down, right? Not only your expenses, but everything that limits you, everything that basically makes you into a slave. Like it's not
mhm,
about. I saw this thing today on social media where it talked about detachment, but it said detachment is not owning anything, but it's when nothing owns you back, right?
exactly.
So it has a lot to do with that because you detached yourself from everything that kind of weighted you down so you could travel everywhere you want. You told us
Mhm.
in the last episode that you got rid of your car, your house, like all your possessions, got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like in today's society, especially in the Western world, where we see so much consumerism and everything is being pushed down our throats, like buy this, buy that, this will make you happy, that will make you happy. I'm just, it's so easy to get lost in what is it that you need and what is it that you don't, you know. And you get to see in your travels people who don't have a lot,
Exactly.
who
That helps. Being outside of that system helps you see the big picture more. Like when you're in the middle of it, like you say, you can't see the forest or the trees. Like when you're stuck in that
yeah,
and everyone else is doing it and it's on TV and it's on the radio and it's just constantly bombardment. It's like you're completely surrounded. You're a product of your environment. So it's like that's why it's for me when I'm outside here and I see what they're living off of and I see how happy they are, then it inspires me. I'm like, well, they don't have nothing. Their family vehicle, there's four of them and they're on one motorbike, like a little like $1,000 motorbike. That's their family vehicle. And there's like a dad and a wife and three kids going to work and stuff. And then I see how they run their shops and I see their clothes and whatever. And yeah, and I just see like, this is what it's much easier when you're actually around people where you can like see that it's possible and you see how happy they are and you see the life they live, and it just makes it easier when you're in the middle of it. When I'm in the Western world, I understand when people get caught up in it. It's just like that's what everyone else is doing and you're completely inundated and surrounded to it. You know what I mean? So it's hard to get out of it. That's why I think traveling in the beginning to get a taste of it, like not vacation, like I said before, not going to the resort, you know what I mean, getting
yeah.
served drinks by the pool. I mean, actually going to small little villages and spending like a decent amount of time learning the culture, learning the ways of like getting a taste of it. Then you'll be able to get like the contrasts and perspectives. So that's what will help, you know what I mean, in the beginning. So I mean, see, I've been outside of it long enough. I just know. And then when I go back to that Western world now, I've only been spent 4 months back in the Western world and since 2011. So like 12 years now, I've spent a total of 4 months in that environment. And then when I go back, I am not happy. I'm happy to see my
You're
family. I
shocked
love them.
every time, eh? Because you
Oh,
see
I
the
go back and I'm
change.
just like miserable. I just have this cloud of gloom and doom and depressing. And no, I'm serious. I go down there. I'm just like, how can people live in this? It's so sad. Yeah, there's nice cars everywhere. Everyone's got nice clothes. Everyone's got new phones. But I'm like, this is just, it's just not
You know,
my vibe,
we
man. It's not my
experience
vibe
it
at all.
here from within as well, Stace. I mean, like, take it
Well,
easy
that's
on
why
us
everybody there
because
is taking antidepressants. Everybody's like, they're gambling addicts or porn addicts. They're this and that. There's so many problems in the Western world too. Like, I mean,
for
guaranteed
sure.
all
And the cost of living has become like incredibly insane. Like it's ridiculous to even compare. Today, when you sent me the
mm,
video with the comparison of like basic products you can get at Walmart, yeah, compared
yeah.
to 3 years ago. Like the inflation and the prices, they got up by more than 100%, and we're struggling here. You know,
And
we're
that's Walmart
struggling.
brand. That's like no name, like generic Walmart brand. This is
Yeah,
not like organic, grass fed, vegan, I mean, this is nothing fancy. This is like the generic, great value Walmart brand. And it's gone up like 40 to 100%, like 12 different items just in the last few years. So at the rate we're going, can you imagine like 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Like there's no way it can continue like that. That means prices would be up like 300-400% in like a couple decades. It's like, what are you gonna pay? Like
so
25 for a pound of butter and
So it
stuff? Like
seems that no matter where we are in the world at this point, we need to learn to live with less if we want to, you know,
absolutely.
move forward somehow as a society, you know, to first of all to stop global warming. That's a big problem everybody's talking about. That we could debate about this or that, but we could save the world basically with consuming less, right? And producing less trash, you know,
Mhm.
putting less garbage out there on our beautiful planet. But, you know, when the regular person is listening to our kind of conversation, what comes to mind is probably, well, we're offering the solution of, you know, not only reducing your cost, but also moving to a different country where it's not as expensive to live your daily life, right? But
Absolutely.
for a regular person, like the first thought that comes to mind is that it's going to be extremely uncomfortable because when you think about a third world country, you think about lack of food, maybe lack of comfort, you know, like dirt roads everywhere, like the jungle is all around me. I'm gonna
Uh,
be eaten by by wild animals. Like, how can you debunk that
Of
prejudice.
course, there is parts of it. Once you're out off the main roads and out of the main cities, yes, you deal with dirt roads. I just dealt with a bunch yesterday. It was like took me 1 hour to go 12 kilometers on my motorbike. So you can imagine 12 kilometers. It took me
Yes,
one
for
hour on my
sure.
motorbike. And I'm dodging, constantly just potholes and up their mud. You know what I mean? Like, but this was a back road. I chose to go that route. I could have went down, but I wanted to go one route and then come around and do a new route because I wanted to do a big loop so I could see more of the island. I chose to do that. But I mean, no, outside of like that's a total myth because it's like right now I got a little fan blowing on me here right now. I got really good internet. The electricity, I'm on an island. It's all paved roads. There's plenty of food, and the food is actually better. It's not,
Oh,
a
I
lot of it is
believe
organic
you.
local because it's like it's grown right on the island here, like in Canada. Like, where do you think you're getting papayas and pineapples and all this stuff from? Nothing is like pretty
You're
much grown
getting
in
it
Africa.
from the source, my
Yeah,
friend.
you're getting it from these places like Central America, and then they're spraying it with preservatives and chemicals and things like that. So actually, the food is better and it's much cheaper because you don't have to pay to ship it across the world in the middle of winter. So it's actually the food is a lot cheaper, it's a lot better, it's a lot fresher. You can get it every few days, even though it goes bad. It doesn't need to last as long because you just walk down to your local market. So it's much more like local market oriented. So there's no shortage of food. That's complete
Yeah.
myth. And depending on where you are, if you live really remote, you might have internet problems. But no, internet, electricity, I've experienced that's not a problem at all. These places are a lot more developed than you think, and
So,
everything is cheaper. I mean, man, I get like cell phone, like my cell phone thing is like it's like $10 a month, and I get like 240 gigabytes of data for like $10 a month. When I was back in Canada, it was $40 a month for 10 gigabytes. $40 for 10. Here I'm getting eight
that's
a
an
day for $10 a month. Like, and it's like,
that's
and
an
it's
insane
faster.
difference.
This is what I mean. It's like the same cell phone network in Canada. You guys are paying just for that. See, that's just one thing right
So
there.
what do
It's how
you think we are paying here for in the Western world? Like why is it such a big difference from here and there? I think it all boils down to education, right? And culture. And I feel
Well, I think one of the main things I've figured out, I think why is because a lot of these sport countries, they have very limited access to credit. Can't get huge mortgages. They don't have credit cards with 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 limits. They don't get like they might get a personal loan. Like sometimes people can get little personal loans from the local bank, farmers and things like that. Or if they want to buy a new Honda motorbike, but it's small. It's like $1,000, $2,000. That's what I think it is. I think because the Western world is so far down like the credit and debt cycle where people are
yeah.
living beyond their means and they're always like going in debt and stuff. What that does is it creates this influx of money that's chasing after these goods because people are affording things they normally wouldn't if they had to live within their means and they could
Yeah.
never go over. You know what I mean? It would limit
So
the
the
consumerism
financial
because
system and culture around it overall is like very, very
yeah,
different
the
from
whole
what we experience
corporations and
here.
that because the corporations and the banks are all behind this because it makes them like they can make more money. So they entice people, incentivize people to go in debt because it makes all the shareholders. It's the whole financial system. Yes, that's what it is because it's like here it's completely different. And I think because everybody lives within their means, the inflation is so tame because it's like it only grows with the economy. And actually, that's the way it should be. Where in the US, it's like the prices are going up with the level of basic debt that's created. You know what I mean?
I
And
feel
debt
it's so
is
it's so
inevitable.
easy also in our society to get into debt, because you got all these credits. You can just go out there, buy yourself a new phone, even if you don't need one. I just did it
Mhm.
last month. I got myself a new phone, although my old one was perfectly fine. But it's so easy to do that to yourself because you're constantly being called for, again, consumerism, buy this and buy that product. And I feel like there the culture is completely different. Like there they would invest their money in what could literally make a difference in their life, a big difference, a profound one.
Absolutely.
While here
Yeah,
we're
that's
just
what I'd say here. Anything that they would go in debt here for would be like completely like an investment. It'd be like, okay, to buy a motorbike so that they can like run their farm or run their store or like, or, upgrade their house so that they could rent out a room and create income on the side. Like, no debt. Absolutely. People do not go in debt here for material things like a big screen TV or like new designer clothes or like nothing like that. Vacations, no. People only go in debt here. It's like to support their family, to build for their future. So it's kind of like smart debt. You know what I mean? It's like, investing. There's no debt for materialism or unnecessary things. These are absolute needs, and these are critical things with the full intent of actually making their life better or whatever. Nothing that's like excess or that they don't need or any wants. Yeah, that's what would make the big difference. Where in the Western world, it's like go in debt and just get everything you want, everything you desire, even if you don't need it. Just go get it. Don't worry about it. Pay it later. That's just the whole
It's
mentality.
it's it's like this fantasy of abundance, right? It's not even real. Like
No, it's
you
all an
think you can have it
illusion, man.
all, but by the end of the day, you end up getting into more and more debt and just getting yourself attached more and more into the machine and being a slave
Well,
to
that's
it,
why I
you
like
know?
it here too.
Just
It's more honest living. It's more honest, authentic living. It's like, you know what I mean? Because when you have consumerism like that too, that creates, like you say, you were talking earlier, the environmental problems because everybody's consuming, using more energy and more stuff than they normally would or they need. And this creates then the back end of that is all the excess garbage and waste and all that. So it's like, it's something
yes.
like I remember some statistic like United States is only 5% of the world's population, yet they use like 25% of the world's energy. So it's like they're
That's
using a
insane.
quarter of the world's energy supply and they're only 1/5 of the population, 5%. So they're using 5 times more energy than the rest of the world, and then you got to think like India and China and their upcoming middle class, they want to be like America and then that's 2.6 billion people right there. America is only like 350 million. So you have India and China combined is like, 5, 6 times the population of the United States. And then they're modeling the United States wanting their Western lifestyle. Like it's just not going to happen.
That'll be
It's
the
just
end
not
of
going to
us.
happen. You can't have 6 times the population of the United States wanting to consume the same amount of energy. Like, it's just not possible. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. There's going to be a crunch time here. It might be like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years where the realization is going to come. It's like, no, not the whole world cannot have America's like standard of living and stuff. Like the Western world,
So
it's
when
just
you're
not possible.
saying honest living, what exactly do you mean?
Well, I mean, look, mainly just living within your means and not like, being living in excess, like reusing stuff. Like, everything I buy is like, it's either really cheap at the market or I buy secondhand clothes. I haven't bought like something new from the mall or like online, like forever. That's what I mean. I know I got lots of stuff. I got Under Armour. I got like lots of brand stuff, and I used to pick it up off the street. Like when I lived in Guatemala, there's this big tarp on the road, and what it would be is it'd be like people from Canada, United States, Europe. They would donate all these clothes to go to poor Guatemalans, and what this guy would do is he'd bring truckloads of clothes and he literally would just dump them on the street on this big tarp, and he would just sort it. Here's a pile of jeans, here's a pile of shirts, here's a pile of this, and I would just ring through it. And you'd have to look through that golden nugget, and I'd sit there and go, okay, I got a pair of jeans, I got a shirt, and I got this and that. And like some of them had tags on them still, brand new. Like, I mean, this is good quality clothes. And I'd get like, I'd know the brands. I was getting like $250 jeans that were like in Canada, and they don't know because they don't know English and they don't know the brands. And I was getting for like $1.50 and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I'm talking like $200
When
jeans in Canada as well. Oh, in Guatemala. And I haven't done it in here because I'm already loaded with my bags. I can't really have any more clothes because I'm already like at my weight limit. But yeah, so stuff like that. I mean, whenever I need new clothes or shirts, I go right to like the flea market type like thing. They used to call it the paca in Guatemala, and I would just, it's fun. It's fun going there. It's like you're digging for diamonds, and you find like this cool stuff, and you're like, oh my god, I got something. I got this
and you're
nice like,
like, huh, I never knew I could live like this.
well, yeah, I got like a nice
No
North Face
struggle.
windbreaker. North Face windbreaker would be like $100 in Canada, and I'm getting
Not
it for like
not selling my
$2.
kidney for this shirt, this t-shirt.
Me,
Who
it brings
knew?
me joy to get extreme value things like that. It's like fun. It's like gold mining. You know what I mean? That's just me.
So
I've
basically,
learned.
it is a choice, you know. So it's
Well,
all
it's a
fake. There,
mindset. You got to
it's just
change your
being
mindset
sold
and
to
say,
us.
yeah, you got to
Just being
change your whole
sold to us in
mindset.
a with a cellophane of luxury, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, let's talk about the mindset because we're not trying to convince anybody live life differently than what they already want, how they already want to live it, you know. But
yeah,
considering this podcast, my whole goal is to help and educate the next generation on a different way of living, different possibilities. So the one challenge that I see about this is that somebody might come and say, I don't want to live in the slums. I don't want my comfort being taken away from me, you know? So again, it comes down to just educating the next generation on a different possibility, a different option. So let's try and see how we could, like, show me the beauty in it. I want to really sell them on the possibility of a greener future, because consumerism is definitely destroying our planet. And I want to show them that going back to the land and to simple, honest living, like you said before, it could be very beneficial to them. So, what is your thought about this? As somebody who have seen how simply people can live and still be comfortable and happy.
Well, I'd say when I lived in Guatemala, I mean, you say living in a slum, like yes, some things are different. Like, in all these countries, you don't flush. I know it sounds scary, but you don't flush toilet paper down the toilet. You
Oh
gotta, like,
no!
wipe your thing. Well, in Asia here, they got a little hose thing. It's really cool, man. The hose, and it's like a high powered little mini fire hose. It literally, like, everywhere they
Bidet.
got it. It's like it's a cultural Asia thing. Like, you gotta wash your butthole. Like, you know what I mean? But it's great. So we don't, they're called bidets or whatever in Canada and stuff. I had one before. It's kind of like a toilet. Sit out here, it's a hose. But anyways, like little things like that, you got to get used to that, because they don't have like the processing facilities where it could break down the toilet paper and all that, and everybody kind of has their own little cistern thing or whatever, and they got to, like, it'll plug it up. So there's just like little things like that, and you sometimes, depending where you are, the power might go out a little bit, but usually it's not too long. And but the thing, the inconveniences and things are very mild. They're not as bad as people think. Like, unless you've traveled, if you just watch TV, of course, the news media, they always show like the poorest of the poorest, like people
Yeah.
living in shanty huts with like corrugated roof.
With a
And you know what I
donkey
mean?
in the
They're living on
backyard.
the slope of a hill, and you know what I mean? A little bit of rainfall and the mud just washes away their home. Yeah,
Exactly.
there is people that live like that, but that's not where I stay. And that's like 90% of the people do not live in stuff like that. Is like the poorest of the poor of the poor. That'd be like, you know what I mean, going into your city and finding the homeless people sleeping in the ATM machine windows and over the heater vents and things, and going, this is what Toronto is about. Go finding the lowest low of scum, Skid
Yeah.
Row areas. Be like, oh, this is what every city, you walk around, this is all you see. That's
So it
exactly
doesn't
what it's like.
necessarily look like that, you're saying.
Absolutely not. It's just like, Toronto. That might be like 10% of Toronto. It's like, okay, here, if you go look for it, yeah, that's maybe like 10% of it here. But like 50% of it is probably just like what Toronto looks like. I mean, the main center parts and stuff, they got traffic lights, they got nice sidewalks, they got nice promenades, beautiful along the beach. But yeah, you go into the remote rural areas, whatever, like far away from the city. Yes, of course, it's way more like agricultural and basic huts and things like that. But I mean, to be honest with you, I find that here in all these countries, you think that you'd see all these poor people. When I go to Canada, I see more homeless people, druggies, zombies, skid row, sketchy people, and I feel more unsafe there than I do here. People here
Yeah.
don't beg for money. It's like, literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I get 10 times more people begging me when I'm back in Canada and supposedly, so rich and prosperous than I do here. People here, it's like a cultural thing. They don't just ask for money for free. You know what I mean? They'll try to sell you stuff like, oh, buy my bananas or buy me this, like, but they gotta earn it. They have like an honor system here. It's like
That's
they don't want a
insane
handout.
because I would expect so much more struggle on a daily basis in a third world country, other than here. But here it's becoming so
Well,
much.
it is there is some parts. I mean, I haven't been to some place like there's Bangladesh and in India. I heard in Philippines. I haven't been to these places yet, but travelers that I've met, and they said
Mhm.
it's really different. In Manila and some of the big places, there's a lot more poverty, and they're a little more aggressive, like Bangladesh and India, some of the poor areas there. So I can't judge all of it, but I mean, from
Yeah.
where I've been in
But there are
Mexico and
definitely
all of Central America,
options.
absolutely. And then it's like there's Hyatts, there's Hiltons. These places are more developed than like people give them credit for. The news media always try to portray these countries as like, oh, they're so far behind, they're so destitute, it's so bad, and it's completely bull. It's complete bull. It's like, man, these countries are more safe. Like where I was in Chiang Mai just recently too. Like I lived in like the second biggest city in Thailand. I was only one block from like the main, like the main market, like the main downtown, and it's like, this is how safe it is. Like my landlord lady there, she has her laptop sitting out on her front desk, and the door is sitting there unlocked, and we're like one block off the main street. The door is unlocked, and nobody's manning the desk, and nobody's security, nothing. And she sits there all night, and like she doesn't even worry, like, I mean, that people could just walk in and steal stuff. Like, it's just unbelievable how safe it is. And it's like there's like, I'm on the threat level of like 1 to 100, where it's like, if I went out at like 2 in the morning and it was like dark and stuff, it's literally like maybe a 5 out of 100, like that. You know what I mean? My threat level. You know what I mean? Where if I did the same thing and some
Yeah.
average US city, it'd be like 50-50 chance you'd probably get rubbed or mugged or something like that. You know?
I'm wondering if this, if I could even call it cultural shaming for a lot of places in the world. All this prejudice is being done on purpose because I'll give you Mexico as an example because we just
Yeah, I was
spoke
just
about it
thinking of that.
recently. But for me, Mexico was like this place of crime, you know, growing up. Everybody told me, stay away from Mexico. You're going to get kidnapped. Maybe they're just
Oh,
trying to keep all that goodness away from
it's
us.
such bull. I've spent like probably a year and a half, 2 years in Mexico, and I've been to like there's 32 states, and I think I've been to like 27 or 28 of them. The only areas that I haven't been to is like the whole top northern US border area. That's
Yeah.
basically the only part that I haven't been, and you don't want to go there. That's all desert, and that's where like 90% of the crime is. All the cities were like half of the cities in the United States and half in Mexico, and the drug smuggling routes. That's where all like the migrants and the human trafficking and the drug cartels and all. That's where you see. So that's what they do in the news media is like they always just focus on those little hot spots of crime, and then
Yeah,
they
no,
blanket
nobody
all.
tells you that the population is very, very happy at certain places, you know, that they're
Yeah, they don't
living the
show you the
life.
other 90% of Mexico that is just completely awesome, peaceful, beautiful, lovely, safe. They always just focus, the news, they love drama. They love to like sensationalism. This is what they do. This is what sells. And you know what I mean? Unless you go for yourself, I know it's complete BS. Complete.
So Stace, let's say that I'm ready. I'm prepared to like leave this bullshit behind me, you know, move out to a
Mhm.
different country. There's nothing tying me down. I'm done with dealing with all my debts, you know. I have some savings. I created a nice cushion for myself to make the first step. Like let's talk about how am I actually going to do this? Because I'm guessing you will need to create some kind of income that would allow you
Mhm.
to move someplace else and not be tied back to your country.
Yeah.
And we also spoke about getting to develop a high value skill to work online. So you have a lot of
Yes.
experience with that. Let's talk a little about that.
Yes. Well, yeah, you definitely, like I say, one part of it is reducing your expenses, right? So you get to keep more of what you already have. That's creating more income. But at the same time, you want to compound that by creating more income coming in or having multiple revenue streams or whatever, like diversifying your income. And yeah, you want to develop, you're going to spend time developing a skill. You want to develop something that you can do from a computer, from remotely. You could start out, and that way you can do it from home while you still have your job. But then once you build it up and you eventually can transition in that your little side gig actually can make you more to support yourself, then you can just be like pick up and relocate and go somewhere else. You would definitely want to have something in this day and age with the internet. You definitely want to invest your time learning a skill that can be like remotely done anywhere. And there's tons of things you can do. I mean, yeah, you can do like graphic design, being a master at Photoshop, video editing, doing social media marketing, managing TikTok, all that stuff. Do anything to do with technology and the internet is really
Content
good to be learning.
creation,
Yeah, content creation right now, hot AI is hot, so you can be like showing people how to use, businesses how to like maximize and optimize,
utilize
what I mean,
AI.
things.
Yes.
Even doing like accounting and booking and stuff, like doing Excel and spreadsheets like that can all be done remotely. You know what I mean? Doing like business management stuff like that. But yeah, content creation, marketing strategies. So that's what I would focus on is doing digital skills for sure.
And you don't even
um
need to go anywhere, right, to educate yourself over these. You could just use the
yeah, you
internet
don't
and
need to
teach
go to
yourself
university. You
anything.
don't need to go to university. You don't even need to pay. All this stuff is available on YouTube and TikTok, and there's courses, and it is unbelievable. Like the amount of information that's available nowadays. Like, I mean, you just got to pick something that you got to, that you're passionate about, that really excites you, that you're not going to get bored of, and you really want to do. And it is all out there. You just find the experts, and you just like, subscribe to them, follow them, listen to their podcast, watch their YouTube videos, and then some of them are offering courses. I wouldn't Everybody's selling courses. I probably say like 80% of the courses are just bullshit because you can get it all for free on the internet. But they just package it together and then they sell it. You know what I mean? That this is what you need to finally be successful. You just need to buy my course. It's like, no, you don't. I've taken lots of courses in my life, and after I read a lot of them, I'm like, man, I already knew all of this, or this was already
Yeah.
available online. they just piece it all together and put it in one big pretty package and put a bow on it and then sell it for like $500 or something. But so yeah, that's, you definitely, you need to have a high income skill that support you. So the great thing about, we were talking about earlier, is reducing your expenses. Is like I say for instance, right now, to live in the Western world, you have $5,000 a month and you're living paycheck to paycheck, so you need that 5,000. But if you can go and move somewhere like, like me or where I'm at, and you can live off, like I'm living off like $1,000 a month, and then the great thing about
Wow.
this, the great thing here too is about the money that you save. The money that you save in the Western world. So say you save $5,000, you got to remember too, when you come here, it's worth 3, 4, 5 times that. So five
Yes.
thousand dollars gets you 1 month in Canada or United States, but $5,000 here gives you almost half a year. So that's the more
Wow.
you save $10,000, you're good for, like, you're spending $1,000 a month, you're good for a whole year. That's the difference. You're in 2 months back there and you're 10 months here. So that's why there's an incentive to save too. And the same thing is, if you reduce your expenses in the Western world, you got it down, say, from $5,000 a month to live, you got it in half to 2,500. Now your little side gig, you only have to build up to $2,500 a month, not $5,000 a month, before you can cut that job off and move. You know what I mean? You don't have to build it up to 5,000 to replace your
And you
whole
don't have to
income.
work as hard.
Yeah, because exactly. And then what does that do? That buys you more time, and then you have more freedom. Then you can learn more because you have more, you can explore more, you can enjoy life more. So it's like, that's what you're doing. You're buying back your time instead of trading your time for money. You're reducing
Exactly.
expenses, so you don't have to spend that much to get by every month. You can actually
This
start
is
living
what
your
is
life.
it is about, because we're talking here about the possibilities of how to attain the not only the life of your dreams, but just the life that allows you to dream more, to use your time differently, to spend it with loved ones, doing what you love, experiencing some kind of freedom while you're still,
Well,
young
exactly.
and
Yeah, you can actually live out your passion and what you want to do. Like, if you want to do gardening, you could do gardening all day. If you want to go hang out and play cards with your
yeah.
friends, you could do that. You can go volunteer and teach kids at school, like some of the
And
things I do.
not wait
It's
for
not just
anybody's
traveling, it's
permission
just
when
doing
you're
whatever the
60
hell you want.
something.
I want to read a book every week, you know what I mean? And sit in my favorite chair and chill and watch the birds, or whatever it is you want to do that makes you happy. That's what you need to be able. That's what this does. It buys you the chance to do more of what makes you happy and really enjoy your life, instead of just
Exactly.
slaving
And
away, grinding away, just doing the
oh,
same thing.
yes, doing
It's
the
not
daily
cool.
hustle.
Life
So
is true. It goes by so quick. So
it all just comes down to, first of all, learning your priorities, like learning to
yeah.
prioritize well, answering the very, very important question of how do you want to live your life. First of all, I think we need to decide that we're no longer accepting struggle. Like, I decided for myself that I'm done with struggling and living a paycheck to paycheck. That's when I started manifesting my own freedom. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not only prioritizing what's important to you and really reevaluating your entire belief system and your values and belief, but it all comes down to mindset. The
Mm-hmm.
mindset that creates the actions needed to turn your life around. So, mindset. There's a lot of discipline involved in here. Let's talk about the kind of mindset that you should have when you're choosing to really make that transition from the Western world, let's say, to living in lesser means, like we call it.
Yeah. Well, I think in the beginning it seems like it's too much of a change. Like, it's just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like it's a quantum leap from this over to here. But it doesn't have to be like that. You do little piece by piece. Like I say,
I'm
you
not
start going,
ready to give up
okay,
concrete.
well, yeah, no. So it's kind of like, okay, so instead of buying, like, you might go buy, like, I go shopping every month and I spend, $200 on new
Yeah.
clothes. But like, maybe just try to, like, this month go and spend like half of that amount or a quarter of that amount and go to like
Hmm.
a thrift store. And you know what I mean? And maybe buy like you can still buy nice clothes and designer clothes, and just see if that's okay. And try that and be like, okay, I got this, and see if it makes you happy. Like, oh, this was great. I feel like I got a good value and I'm still got something new. So I still feel good about myself. Nobody knows that I got it used. And it's like, wow, I just saved $150 this month. So it's like, oh my God, if I do this for a year, it's like, I thought there's $1,200 in 1 year right there, just by spending $100 less a month on clothes or whatever. And then on top of it, if you didn't put it on your credit card and you didn't pay it off right away, you're saving that on interest too. So then you think, oh yeah, wow, I just paid myself. So maybe like put the money away that you save. But like, yeah, I'm just gonna start putting $100 away. I'm gonna go to the thrift store, buy my clothes, get my satisfaction, and get something new every month. But then I'm gonna put that $100 away that I saved instead of giving it away to some big corporation or whatever, or paying the credit card. I'm gonna put it away, and that's gonna be go towards my fund. So it's like it's just gamifying a lot of stuff too. But like this is a
Yeah.
game, and it's like kind of like I'm playing to win, and then just doing little small changes over
Love
time.
it. So you're
It,
actually creating the discipline by taking little steps.
Yeah, and it's like the reward
Yeah.
system is like you got to reward yourself too. Then you see that, you know what I mean, you're getting paid and you're like, oh, this is worth all the effort. So just little things like that. Like I said earlier about, your Starbucks coffee. Instead of like, hey, I'm not going to spend $5, 5 days a week in coffee. That's $25. I think Starbucks are even more than $5 now, aren't they? Like seven
Oh,
or
for
something.
sure. It's
They were $5
let me
when I
tell
was
you.
back in Canada, so they got to be more than that now. They got to be like $7 or $8 for the venti, the big one, I'm sure. So just stuff like that too. Be like, okay, 2 days of the week, I'm gonna get the $2 coffee or the whatever, and then I'm gonna treat myself every Friday to Starbucks or whatever. So you do the math, okay, that's $35 a week I save. There, that starts building your retirement. And so really just kind of like, and then watching that grow and seeing it, then I think it'll be, it
Yeah.
builds upon it, so you get momentum. And then you can start changing your mind. And then it becomes habitual where it's like, oh, it's fun. And you actually think, well, what other ways can I do to make more money? That's kind of how it was with me. It's like, how can I
Yeah.
like spend less and save more money? And then I look at it like it's not you're not denying yourself. It's like you're making these small discipline changes, but you're building for the long-term future of freedom. You know what I mean? And it makes you happier in the long run.
And
So
it
it might be a
doesn't have
little bit, inconvenient and uncomfortable in the beginning because we're
yeah.
creatures of habit, change is outside your comfort zone. But once you do get outside of it, then it becomes your way of life. And then now you don't now me, I don't think anything other way. So
And it doesn't have
yeah,
to be such an overwhelming transition. Yeah, you could always
yeah,
just give it a try, do a few months in a
yeah.
cheaper country and just see how it works for you. See how much your $7 you were paying for Starbucks can buy you in a different country,
Oh yeah.
could buy you a
Oh,
whole day of meals, like hearty, good, wholesome meals from what I
seven
see on
dollar.
your
Yeah, from the
stories.
price of a coffee. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I'm getting meals for like $1, $2 a meal and stuff like that. Like I mean, for one person, Starbucks, I can literally have like three big meals. I mean, like vegetables, like meat, chicken, rice, like shrimps, like three big plates of food for like the price of one Starbucks coffee. And I don't even need three plates in a day. So that could literally, if I had like a plate and a half a day, that could literally that could be like 2 days of
That
healthy
is
eating for the
awesome.
price of one Starbucks coffee.
That is an
And
amazing way to
that's just
save
getting your day
money.
started. You know what I mean? That's just simple, something simple like that.
So
So
let's try and draw them a step-by-step map on how to like achieve this kind of lifestyle. Like, where do I begin? Where do I go to? Like, the first step is to get rid of your debts because if you're tied down to your country, um, it's tough. So
yeah, well, the first
let's
thing to do is obviously if you have debt already, is to like not go in debt, not to increase it at all, like to not even grow it by one more dollar, to just like halt the debt growth. And then of course the first thing is to do is okay to have more available money to start paying it down. So that the only way to do that is unless you can get a raise at your job or start creating a side income. You might, if you have a little bit more free time, maybe you can do like a little side gig thing. If you already have a full-time job, and I mean, you can't do the digital online thing yet because that takes time and you got to build it up. But there's something else you could do, like, oh, I could drive an Uber, I could do one of those task rabbit things, and or some type of little side thing. You know what I mean? You could do a service or something like that where you get a little bit more extra income at the same time. Do an inventory, and I mean be ruthless, and an assessment of everything that your money. You're going to start tracking all your money, what you're spending it on, and then you literally have to like prioritize, like this is absolutely essential. Like obviously like your electricity bill, it's like besides keeping your lights on, not running your air conditioner, turning
yeah,
things off, being more
basic
careful, getting
necessities.
energy save bulbs, you can reduce that. But you can't be like, oh, I don't want to pay my electricity bill this month, I want to save some money. You know what I mean? So obviously there's certain things that you have to
Oh,
pay,
I
but
wish.
you have to go through everything and be like, hey, do I absolutely need this? Is this essential to living? If I didn't have this, would like my life be over? Would I be, what I mean, extreme danger or trouble or something? You have to like literally try to cut everything to the bone you can and go through that. Maybe only do one thing at a time or a couple things at a time, so it's not too much of a shock to your system. But just get rid of it. I guarantee you, most of these things you'd be surprised. You'd be like, oh my god, 2 months later, be like, I just got rid of something. It's like I was spending $40 a month for these two things, and it's like 2 months later, you notice your life didn't even really change. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, that's like $800 a month, right? Or $800 a year right there. So yeah, it is to get your expenses down as much as possible, because then that just frees up right away, like your money, and then you have more money left every paycheck instead of that paycheck to paycheck. So that gives you some breathing room where it's like you're in a better state of mind. Then you can actually start spending more time like investing, doing the skills, doing the trainings and things like that. But you're not so stressed and worried, oh my God, I got to work so much all the time just to keep paying. So the less you have to come up with every month, that means that you'll have more time, more freedom, more energy and resources to start like allocating your
Yeah.
time to do other more high valuable things.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. I don't know if the answer is gonna be relevant for the near future because a lot is changing. But what would you say would be a good cushion to start with, and which countries should be like good with that kind of cushion, like good
Well,
countries to start from?
Well, like I said, I lived in Guatemala for many years. There's parts of Guatemala that's very cheap still. And it's good, and the money, it's one of the cheapest places ever. And Nicaragua is also very cheap. Mexico is good, but it's definitely more than the others. And because it's so close to the United States and there's so much tourism and it's so easily accessible, like there's direct flights to Cancun from like all the major
Yeah.
US cities. So there's a bit of inflation there. It's not as much as the United States, but Guatemala is more off the beaten path. El Salvador is not really that cheap. They use the US dollar there and they import a bunch of stuff from the United States. They're a really big trading partner. So basically, you know what I mean? Everything there is based in price in US dollars. One thing I've noticed too is these countries that use their own currency, that is the countries that have the best deals. Anyone that like pegs their money to the US dollar or something like that, they basically
Hmm.
rise as the US dollars. You know what I mean? So it's not, you don't get the
Mm.
good deals. So like in the Thailand, they have the Thai baht. It's super good prices there. Vietnamese dong here, it's super good prices. Guatemalan, they got the quetzal, great prices. In Colombia, it's a peso. They got their own prices. But anywhere like El Salvador, they use US dollar. Panama, it's not that good of a deal anymore because as the U.S. inflation's been rising, it's been rising. Maybe not as fast, but it's like pegged to it, so it goes up and down with it. So you definitely want to find a country that has, their currency. You got to look online and see the difference. It makes a big difference because the people here, for instance, like in the Vietnamese dong, everything in the market is priced in their own currency and it doesn't change. So it's like you buy avocados, you buy bananas, you buy root, you buy meat. The chickens, they've been the same price for years and years. They don't go up and down,
Mm.
but you know what I mean? They're not printing shitloads of money and they're not doing stuff, so it's very stable. So you definitely want to go to a country that has their own currency and is not any way tied to the US. Like and a country that can support itself, they don't have to import a lot of stuff. Any country that imports, like they don't make anything themselves, like they import everything from the European Union or from the United States, their products and stuff like that. You want to find a country that makes like all their own milk, all their own stuff. You know what I mean? They make their own stuff in their country, because then you're not dealing with shipping, you're not dealing with tariffs and import taxes and inflation and markup and different middlemen
Yeah.
in between, before it gets to you. That's another reason why Canada and the United States is so expensive, because there's so many people in between the whole process, the whole chain. You know
The
what I mean? By
chain, yeah.
everybody's getting their piece of the pie and marketing it up. By the time it gets to you, the consumer, it's like five different people have like skimmed some profits off it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So
exactly. So I want to, I
basically
want
here you're
to,
buying stuff wholesale. You're getting chickens that are like
yeah.
killed right in like next door, like they cut their head off right in the backyard, and then she's out on the street selling it on the market. The lady, she just killed it this morning. You know what I mean? So there's no middlemen. That's why you can get such.
It's like I knew this
There's
chicken her
literally,
whole
yeah,
life.
literally. I was having a fried chicken in Thailand. They're like, "Bak, bak, 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 bak." I looked in the back, and the roosters, they're sitting there in the pen, and then there was fried chicken in the front. Literally, the guy's like chopping the head off. The wife's frying it, and then he's bringing it up to the front stall right on the street. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't get more,
Oh, for sure.
direct to consumer than that.
Let's go back to the question of mindset, because last episode we did together, you told me something very interesting, that specifically in those places where you'd expect people to struggle more, yeah, and they're living way lesser means than we do here, they tend to be kinder, the community tends to be tighter, more
Yeah.
welcoming. Why do you think is that? Why do you think there's such a big difference in mentality and the culture and overall?
Well, see, that's another thing I love about here too, is the people are way more humble. They do not, there's no entitlement mentality. Like, I deserve the best, or I'm this, I'm worth it. Like, nothing. Everyone's like, when you buy, like, you spend $1 with them at the store, and they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, they're so grateful. And it's so nice to be around such appreciation and authentic gratitude and humility and down to earthness. People in the Western world, they're up in the freaking clouds, man, delusional. Like the women, the people, like they standards, and they think that it's just this brainwashing mentality. Here it's just, I just love it. It's just literally down to earth, way more grounded people, and they're so
But
grateful. You come in.
do you think that the gratitude attitude comes from a place of lack because they are that grateful to receive the little that they get, or is it something more deeply embedded into the culture of like being grateful for the fruit of the land, let's call it like that?
I think it's a combination of both. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I mean, I've seen it like in the Spanish culture, maybe not so much, but especially in this Buddhist Asian culture, just way more like, they're always like bowing to you and, very nice. But even when I was in Mexico and Guatemala, the people are very kind, but obviously they don't bow. That's more like an Asian thing. But no, I think it is. It's a lot. It is probably like they're so content with so little, so that when they do get something coming in, they're just so gracious. They have the mentality like they're just so grateful for it, because they do get so little that when they do, it's just like they're so joyful and so happy about it and so grateful. Where it's like, because they don't have much. Where people in the Western world, it's like they always have everything, so it's like they take things for granted. You know what I mean? It just goes right over their head. Oh, entitled, like, I deserve to get more, I'm more worthy. That's not enough, they're not satisfied. That's why I can't be there, man. I cannot be around that anymore. When I've been around this for so long, like the vibe and the energy, it's just like, it's like a different world. It's just, I just can't be around it. I'm not happy there. I just feel like the toxicity and stuff, and just the whole spiritual thing and the mental thing. I can't do it. It hurts my heart and my soul when I'm there. I'm just not happy. When I'm here, I love it. I love getting woken up to the chickens, and I love just, yeah, I love it. I love it.
So, um, I'm wondering, you're saying you love it so much. You're never coming back home, it seems.
No, I
Not
only
to
came back the
Canada.
last two times because my mom basically, when it gets to the point that my mom cries, she starts, laying it on thick. She cries and she's like, "Oh, Bob, he's gonna." My poor stepdad, he just died a little while ago, and I'm so glad I
Oh,
came back this last Christmas, because that's why my mom wanted to come back. She's like, "He's probably not going to make it another year if you don't come back." And I had been gone for 4 years. And then, like I said, I didn't even met my only niece. I hadn't met her. She wasn't even born yet. Now she's 3.5. And my only nephew, he was a baby, and now he's turning 5. So, and then, I haven't seen my grandma, just turned 85. My other grandma died. I was able to see her last time, but she died shortly after I went back in
bless.
2018. And I'm so grateful for that. I was able to help her move, and then she literally died like 6 months later. So I got to see my grandma on my dad's side. And then I just went the last time, my grandma on my mom's side. I went and spent 10 days with her. That was awesome, because my grandpa died back in 2015 when I lived in Guatemala, and I wasn't there, and I didn't see him when he died. So yeah, she does it every once in, every few years. She starts laying it on. You should come back. It's not right, staying. And then she starts making me feel guilty. And then when she starts crying, telling me that I need to come home, then I'm like, okay, I really need to try to find a cheap flight here or something. But the first time it was 7 years, last time it was 4 years. So, and
How
I just
how
left.
how do you explain to them, like, apart from it's cheaper living here and I can't deal with the Western mentality anymore? Like, what are your other reasons to just, keep your travels, continue, stay at these parts of the world?
Well, for the other thing too is like, why I'm addicted to living here is like, we talked about this whole subject is like living below your means, and like being happy with less.
Mhm.
It's like not possible in the Western world to like live like that. It's like you have to make like $150,000. You know what I mean? It's just not possible. Like here, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's enjoyable to live well, not a little bit below your means,
Enjoyable. Put an
way
emphasis on
below
that.
your means. Yeah, so it's so easy. It's like a cakewalk to like only spend $1,000 a month, live well, and then make way more than that every month. It's enjoyable to me to be able to constantly live below my means and to see my thing that started at 5,000 and how it's been growing. It's fun for me to be able to live the life that I want, enjoy myself, do whatever the heck I want, sleep all day, motorbike all day, do
And
whatever
you
I want.
get to
And
travel so much and go on all these
yeah, and I just,
adventures.
okay, I'm bored here. My visa's up. Okay, where am I off to next? It's like I'm planning months ahead of my next adventure. I'm going to be here for at least 3 months. Then I'll probably go to Laos for a month, and then after that, I'm like, okay, am I going to go back and finish Malaysia, or am I going to go to Indonesia and Bali, or go to Philippines? I don't know. I don't know what order I'm going to do all of them in, but I'll eventually do that over the next year. And then it's like, okay, do I go over to the Middle East and Turkey and Greece and like Morocco and all that, or I'm going to probably go like Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, Sri Lanka, and do that whole Asia area too. That's another whole year, 2 year trip. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, what am I going to do? This is like my life is like, well, what am I going to do next? It's kind of like, but I can do anything I
Yeah.
want. I'm just kind of like, okay. So it's fun. It's fun. I like it.
So
I
Stace,
like it a lot.
let me challenge you with one last question. Well,
Sure.
the generation of the future, how do
Mhm.
we I hate the word convince, but how do we show them that the philosophy of living with less is going to give them more? Like how do we show to them that this is the right way? Like what do they have to gain from having less, and living that kind of lifestyle? What would it give to them as humans?
Well, I think what everyone really wants in life is freedom, right? They think that, you know what I mean, if I get more money, but it's always kind of like money, 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 money. But
Mhm.
no, it's the most valuable thing of all is time, 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 time. And,
The one
people
thing you
think, oh,
cannot buy.
yeah, it's the one thing. Money, you can lose money. Like I said, I was bankrupt. I lost money. I gave it all back. But once this time's gone, it's gone. And we only have a certain amount. If you're lucky, you get 75 or 80 years. You're not guaranteed. That's if everything goes right. You might get a little more, you might get less, but don't count on getting more than 75 and 80. And it's like I think of my life every day. I think of like there's a stopwatch. I don't know what the reading is at right now, but I mean, like one of those countdown timers or whatever. I just imagine it
Yeah.
in my head. And I'm like thinking, oh my God, every day, it's going down, it's going down. And I don't know when that like alarm is going to go off that expiry date. I could die next week, it'd be an accident. I could die later. So I just live my life and try to do them, make the most of everything. And I think what people need to be, what they'll do by having less is you have more freedom. And when you have more freedom, that means you have more time so that you can actually really do what you're meant to do in life and what you want to do. What brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what brings you contentment, which gives not has makes you have stress. This,
God bless.
these people think, oh, I gotta get money, 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 I gotta get it. And then it's like, yeah, oh, I'm gonna when I retire. It's like a big baloney lie. It's like, yeah, you're gonna be free when you're 65. There's no guarantee you're even get 65. You know how many people die? Like by the time they're young, they get
Oh,
cancer, there's
for
something like that when they're
sure.
50, 60, 70.
The
So it's
time
like, man,
to live
the
is
time
now.
is now. The time to do
Yeah,
it now. And the
it's
only way you
time.
can do that is by like doing less so that you have more to do, more options and stuff too. Because
More
if you're counting
time.
on like, oh, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to save my money, I'm going to do it when I'm older. Who wants to do that when you're 65? You can barely hear your brain. You might even have onset of dementia or amnesia. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't know what's going to go on. You might have a back problem. You can't even walk. Like, geez, the time to do it is
It is
now
what
to
it
start
is.
living.
It's more time to live life and enjoy it freely.
Exactly. Whatever that is to you. You
Doing
want to
what
start
you
a
love
an
doing.
animal shelter, you want to like teach children, you want to like do whatever it is you want to do, whatever like makes you lights up your eyes, gives you like passion, makes you excited. That's what you should be doing. And you know what I mean? To do more with less is to be able to do those things that really bring you joy to your life, help you sleep at night, not stress, you know what I mean? And yeah, give you more time so that you can rest, so that you can do whatever you want, work out more, do whatever the
Yes,
heck
and
you want.
enjoy life.
Exactly.
This is what
Instead of
it
just
is
instead
about.
of just trading your life and being this cog in the machine that's just feeding this big
Feeding
banking
the matrix.
corporate global mega empire. You know what I mean? Where all they don't know spit you out the minute you can't produce as much as you're. And the next generation, that's what it's all about. It's all about just using you and grinding you to the nothing and throwing you little
Yeah, so
tidbits and
it's
crumbs.
basically taking control over your life, and
Yes.
not being controlled by the industry and the media and all of these things that basically program you to just be a good battery, if you know
Yeah,
what I mean.
living a life of purpose and passion of what you really want to do and what really
Exactly.
brings you joy and happiness, not just doing what you have to do to maintain it so you don't drown and
Yes.
crash and burn.
So this is
Yeah.
one way to unshackle yourself from modern slavery.
One. Yes. And we were talking about creating a PDF file
Oh
too,
yeah, for sure.
or something like that, with a checklist. I'm going to brainstorm of all the different things you can do. Like, these are steps you can do, and then
Yeah,
some might work for
just
you,
to
some
bring
might not.
folks on the same page,
Yeah.
I asked Stace to put some effort into creating a PDF for us with like the exact steps you should be taking towards your financial freedom and towards getting out of your fake comfort zone, guys. Fake
Yeah.
comfort zone into a world of new possibilities where you can enjoy with less than what you have now and still remain that level of comfortability and joy towards life. Just enjoy your life, enjoy more free time, be financially
Amen.
free. Get out there,
Hallelujah.
experience life and all its color and beauty, and get adventurous. Life is all
Yes, like
about adventure.
just yesterday, I rode around my motorbike 230 kilometers around the whole island, 10 hours riding my motorbike. Went to all the little villages, remote
Oh,
villages. Went to from the Hyatt 5-star resort in the south to like shanty hut filling fishing villages,
amazing.
living out on the water in the north, and everything in between. You know what I
Guys,
mean? It's
go
like amazing.
go go
I
watch
was able to
Stace's
do that all day.
stories. He shows it rough. He shows it straightforward. He shows it
Oh
as
yeah.
it is. The most amazing
The
travels.
good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the glamorous, the sketchy, the terrible, the gross, the
Yes,
awesome, everything.
life in all
Yes,
its might and beauty.
absolutely.
Well, Stace, thank you so much for another great episode. I feel like
You're welcome.
we're on a mission here to show people
Absolutely.
a different world of vast possibilities you can choose from. It's not just this one, template you need to be living by that the Matrix shows you. It's either you're in this consumering world and you're a battery till the day you die, or there's nothing else. There's so many ways to live life, to enjoy it, to find your freedom, and to unshackle yourself from the chains.
Get off that
of
conveyor belt and go blaze a new trail, your own path.
yes. We're all for it. We're all for rekindling the human spirit, putting some fire into ourselves and living fully by our own terms, and in control of our own faith and destiny. So, Stace, thank you once again. I love
You're
having you
welcome.
here on the podcast. I love hearing about your travels. I know that we're going to do multiple episodes together, and it's just fun every time to hear where you're at and all the
Amen.
beauty that you get to see and experience. And yeah, I'm excited to share with everybody the PDF that we're going to be working on.
Yes.
We're going to leave all the links and everywhere you can find everything you need in order to make the first steps. So yeah, guys,
It'll be like a nice little blueprint checklist. There's going to be like as much things in there as possible. Some things might pertain to you. Some things are like, no way, I can't do that. Oh, I could do this. And you just start nibbling, take a little nibble here and there and see what works for you. And I could do this. And then you'd be surprised once you start doing it. You're like, oh my God, this isn't as hard as I thought it'd be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You then get more motivated. You know what I mean? You build upon that, and then you start getting momentum.
Next thing that happens,
you find your life is completely different.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, how did that happen?
Well, you find yourself on a beach in Mexico, sipping on pina colada.
Oh, I remember that podcast. The guy planted that seed. That little spark went off, and now look at me. Look at me now.
That's gonna be me in a few months. So count me in.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So we will see you in the next episode. Stace, thank you once again.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure, blessing. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Anytime.